Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandy Grace, author of 10 young adult novels so far. I recently filmed a video walking through how I organize my story Bibles and use them, and I figured I'd share it here. I actually filmed this originally for a coaching video for my writing group, which was interesting. I put it off for weeks, and then I finally convinced myself that it was just like filming a YouTube video, and that's what made me feel easy and comfortable. So apparently I don't mind explaining my life and being a dork for thousands of strangers, but I am more uncomfortable sharing with my hedgy sisters. There's something there. I could probably pull on that thread. I don't know that I want to. I think part of it is that I want, I haven't killed enough of my writer's ego in the hedgy house, specifically. Obviously on YouTube I don't care. I'm like, whatever, I'm an idiot. But in the hedgy house specifically, I think I want the respect of my hedgy sisters, I guess. And some part of me feels like my natural goofy self is not really respectable. So, yeah, I was feeling a little embarrassed about giving that video to our head coach so she could share it with the hedgies. I'm still feeling uncomfortable because technically speaking, my video hasn't been used yet as a daily coaching video, so I have no idea how people are going to respond. And this is kind of cracking me up because waiting anxiously for it to be shared with the hedgy house, I'm like on pins and needles. But at the same time, I'm like, this was actually a decent video. I should share it with my YouTube subscribers. And like, I have zero anxiety about posting it on the internet. Make of that what you will. Anyway, this is the video. Obviously yours is trimmed down, so I'm not like, I'm cutting out the parts where I say like, hi hedgies, or like, I'll see you on a prickle. Because that doesn't really apply to YouTube, but the rest of it's the same. My nephew is playing in the room next door, so you might hear him making noises at some point throughout this, or he might just wander in at some point, I don't know. So, I'm just going to pull out one of my story Bibles and walk through what it looks like. Hopefully this will be helpful in some fashion. It helps me stay organized and keep everything in one place, but it's also less confusing than it used to be. I always like working by hand. I take notes by hand, I do research by hand, I do everything by hand, except for writing the actual story. Yeah, but I used to just have a notebook and randomly write things in it, and then I could never find the pages that I wanted to find because they were just all mixed together, and that just really didn't work for me. So, over the course of the last 10-ish years, I have worked out a process that works for me to keep me organized, and I call it my story Bible, and here we go. There's a lot of chaos in here, which we don't have to talk about, but this part is the important part. So I personally always like to get the 5-in-1 notebooks because it breaks down really easily for the way that I organize myself. Basically, I break down my story Bibles into 5 or 6 sections. 5 or 6 because 2 of the sections, sometimes I blend them sometimes. So I'll have a brainstorming section and an outlining section. These are the 2 that sometimes blend together. There'll be one section. In the story Bible I'm about to show you, they're one section. And then I will have a research section, a world building section, my character section with all my character profiles and things of that nature, and then I have my story timeline. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, basically. The first one being my brainstorming outlining section. So I have, like on this page, brainstorming book 3, notes, and then following that is like an outline for book 3, notes. And then when I finished that book, which took a long time apparently, there we go, I have book 4 ideas after that. So yeah, the first section is just where I take random notes as I'm brainstorming, and then I make my outline, which is what I have open when I'm writing, and then when I'm done with that, I move to the next thing. So that section's pretty self-explanatory. My next section is world building. So I have my handwritten maps. Don't look at those, they're ugly. And then I have pages of notes on the countries that I've created for this fantasy story. Anything can go in here. Basically what I have is like, I have the like foliage and climate and things like that, and then I have the government and how things work in that specific kingdom, various things. So that's, you know, world building. And I have that for every country. There's some blank pages in here because I I gave like, I don't know, like 10 pages or something to every country, and not all of them filled 10 pages. And then my characters. This one is the one that I open the most often, I think, probably. I give each of my characters 2 or 3 pages where I could just fill out what they look like, or what their personality is, what weapons they use, various things. Yeah, I have this open as I'm writing because I personally discover my characters through the first draft. So as I find things out about them, I add it to their character profiles. The next section that I have is research, which in this specific notebook is blank because I actually broke my own rules and did research in a completely different notebook. Don't question it. But yes, normally this would be my research section. For this specific story, I did research on, where did that notebook go? Different governments and how they work, on different magic systems and how they work, and also this story is inspired by the Legends of King Arthur, so I did a lot of research on the very, very, very many different legends. Yeah. And the last section that I do is a timeline, which I haven't done with this story yet. It's clearly blank. But I will fill this out at some point. I like to have a written timeline of every event that's happening in the story and when it happens. So like with my Robin Hood, for example, I can show you my timeline because my Robin Hood story has the most epic timeline. Let me move my notebook out of the way. This entire thing is the timeline. And it spans like 150 years. And every time that something happens in one of the stories, I write it down. I add it to the page wherever it belongs. That's what my timelines look like. They're not super pretty, but it's like every week of the year, and when things happen, I write it down. Which I haven't done with my fantasy story yet because I haven't actually gone through any self-editing yet. So I haven't created the timeline. But I will eventually. Where did this pencil come from? And that's it. That's the last section. So, basically, to recap. Wait, which one is this? What did I just... This was the Robin Hood one. So there you go. That's what my story Bibles look like. They're very simple and straightforward, but they definitely keep me and my chaos organized. Hopefully that was helpful in some fashion. I don't know. Also, these binders are super helpful. So I like to use the 5-in-1 notebooks, but I also like to have binders so that I can put all my other miscellaneous things. So like some of the random things in here in this notebook, I have my notebook of notes from my very first BFF, way back in the day. That was a long time ago. And then I have like my Preptober workbook and like various things. Anything that I use while creating the story, I keep in the binder. But the 5-in-1 notebook of my story Bible specifically is the most helpful.